Well, howdy, I'll tell you what. Yeah, with the heat index, it's over 110 right now here in North Kakalaki, in the greater Burgaw area. It's a hot one. So I'm not wearing a hat right now. I got the fan going, I got the AC going, and hopefully the noise suppression is doing its job. So I figured we'd talk a little bit about an update to a book, and I'm sure you've seen the community post by now. St. Marian's Menia Monastery, the nuns there sent me a new fresh printing and personalized of the Agpeya that we only reviewed about 3 months ago. And I was delighted. First of all, their communication with me has been grand. As soon as I posted that review, they were in the comments, they were in my email, they're very appreciative, very grateful, very gracious, and just very, very lovely people. And immediately they were like, we saw the misprints and but we're gonna fix everything, don't you worry. And of course I'm never worried, as long as a publisher acknowledges that they're gonna have a new edition with they're gonna fix the typographical errors, whatnot, this, that, have you. It's usually like, okay, how long are we gonna have to wait for this? Because typically, if that's gonna happen at all, which with some publishers, some very large publishers, who I will not name names, but if you know, you know, just won't do that. So within 3 months, the corrections were made and they sent me the book. Like, didn't know what's happening. Like, all of a sudden I get a notification, hey, your book's on the way. Okay. They were like, what color you want? I was like, surprise me. They sent me red. Turns out I really like the red. It's that ox blood. And so I was delighted to see that everything I mentioned in the video was fixed, which is great. That's fantastic. It's a fantastic book if you're into that sort of thing. But what also hit me is like, wait a second. Like, a lot of websites carry this. If you're following any of the booksellers that sell Coptic or Ethiopian products. So I know the book's out there, and they never said how many they printed in the first run. But the fact that within 3 months, they must have sold out of all the original run and had to scramble to make sure that they had more on hand to cover orders tells me so much about a publisher and about the need and desire for the book. Now, say what you will about the Copts. I don't know what your opinions are, and frankly, I don't care what your opinions are. I stick to the councils, but I still love them. They're people, and I love them. I love them. I love the Copts. I really do. Always have. And the Ethiopians, fabulous people, marvelous people. But they take their prayer seriously. They like the fact that a new and probably the most beautiful Agpeya I've seen thus far in the English language, and granted, my collection is small compared to some others. I haven't gotten a version any older than maybe 40 years old. For them to sell out so quick and then be selling out again tells me everything I need to know about the faithful. And we could take a cue from that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present the review again for the book. I'm going to cut out where corrections needed to be made, and I'm also going to present to you a new little intro. So with the intro to the intro out of the way, let's roll the intro. Welcome back to Orthodox Review, the most uneducated educational program here on the internet today. I'm your host, the guy with 1.5 thumbs, Raphael, and I do not own a gun. All right, if you know, you know. So let's get into this. Before anything else, the shilling, of course, Patreon, PayPal, one-time donations, like, share, subscribe. You know the deal. Huge thank you to this month's supporters, and I'm going to make a very special video about that, and I'm going to name names because my butt was thoroughly saved by God's grace through you this month. I've got potatoes on the stove right now. But anyway, so with that out of the way, if you want to help out the show, links are below. If you want the book, links are below. And so without any further ado, I present to you the re-edited version of my review of the Holy Agpeya from St. Mary and Demia Monastery in Georgia. Unlike what the woefully ignorant Protestants may have you believe, when the apostles went out and spread the gospel, they delivered the fullness of the faith, which included then how to pray. Derived from the temple practice handed down through the ages, in the hours of prayer well known to anyone raised in the Jewish faith at the time, many traditions have developed over the millennia, most notably in the first few centuries of the Orthodox Christian faith. In the East, the measured and regimented short form from the city monasteries and the great fathers of the church, beginning with St. Basil and on Mount Athos. In the West, the cloistered Benedictine practice, which, though following form, chose different psalms in some cases, though still relevant to the petition of the time. In the South, however, that being Egypt, the Nile Valley, and Ethiopia, and all the traditionally Hebrew-following kingdoms of the area, the older ways were more preserved in the desert. Fathers and sketes and in the countless hermitages throughout the Thebaid and beyond. Tradition holds that this comes from St. Mark himself, and though expanded on in the latter monasteries, holds very much to the original and much longer usage. So this particular edition of the Agpeya comes from St. Mary and Demia convent down in Atlanta, Georgia. Maybe not in Atlanta, but down in Georgia, okay? Down here in the dirty South. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's printed in Canada. It's cloth and hardbound, and we're going to get into the construction because it is top-notch. $12.99. They're not making money on this book. I can almost guarantee that. They are not making money on this book. And for an extra $7, they put my name on it. It comes in 3 colors, so you got black, red, and blue. They're all beautiful. 2 ribbon markers. And I gotta say, and full color, by the way. And we're gonna go top down with this in a second, just so I can show you some stuff. There's some beautiful icons. I have not seen a book this well put together since New Rome Press did, like, you know, their prayer book and the Light of the World and Mother of the Light and all that. This is an absolutely beautiful book, and I really can't wait to show it to you. It does include a brief history of the Agpeya, which, you know, it means Book of Hours, Prayer Book of Hours. So it's an Orologian. So it gives you some history about, you know, how it was passed down from St. Mark and how it evolved, and which is really cool because that's not information that's usually widely available. And actually, while I was doing research, I found a book about the history of the Coptic liturgies, which it's on my wish list. And it's not for the show, it's just because I want to learn about that. Like, that's cool. That's my idea of a good time, is sitting down with a book like that. Let's see. The translation is the Coptic Reader Translation, which is the Coptic Orthodox Church's Diocese of the South of the United States. It's their special translation of, you know, the Psalms and everything. And just like for us Byzantine Rite Orthodox Christians, us Eastern Orthodox Christians, you know, there's, you know, throw a stick and you'll hit a different translation of the Psalms. I happen to think that, although it's not my favorite translation, it reads beautifully. And it kind of gives the Psalms a slightly different dimension. Not that it changes anything about the Psalms, but it, you know, when you have a semi-modern English translation that really kind of leans more on the poetry and the spirit of the Psalm, it's just a refreshing change. The way we chant it would be clunky, but if you're just reading it, it's fantastic. There's also a chart in here, and I'll show you when we do the top down, where it gives you a chart for memorizing the entire Psalter within a year. Like, that's pretty intense. I know I can't do it. I've been chanting Psalms for 13 years, and I've got maybe 2 memorized. So, again, I'm not all there. Let's see, and there's a Psalm chart, which, if you go back and watch my first episode on the Agpeya, I talk about how I because there was no psalm chart in any of these other Agpeyas. I've got these three. I've got maybe two more in the back there. And so I had like sat down and wrote out a chart about, how many psalms are actually in the Agpeya and when they're used. And it's roughly half of the psalms. Like, it's like 70 some odd psalms that are used on a daily basis. But yeah, there is a chart to memorize all the psalms, which is great. So anyway, let's turn this around. Let's go top down, and I really want to focus on the construction of this book, because this book was printed in Canada. It's printed domestically, and they're selling it for $13. It's full color. It's sewn binding. It's got 2 ribbons. It's beautiful. It's well constructed, and it's cheap. So I am now, and again, I'll say, like, I understand, like, independent publishers, they need to make a profit to keep the doors open. Right, I get it. This is being sold by a convent. I'm sure they've got to try to make some money too, but it just goes to show that if you wanted to, if you just kind of bit the bullet a little bit, and you can print domestically beautifully and keep cost reasonable, okay? Plus, with all the tariffs going on with China, do we really want to be screwing with that right now? Print local. Support local. All right, let's go top down, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of the book. I'm going to show off how pretty it is, and then I'm going to send you on your way. And my goodness, it is warm in here. Let's go. All right, that's about as good as it gets. Go away, flies. Go away. Dang, dang, dang old flies. Whoo-wee. Shizzle my nizzle. Okay, so here we go. Hold on a second. Oh, I'm sweating. Sweating hard. Okay, so here we are. Johnny Blade, get out of there. All right. Yes, we're still doing this over the sink, all right? Yeah, so right off the bat, I want to show you the binding that will not quit, or focus for that matter. But anyway, it's fully sewn. Awesome. Oh man, that's tight. These beautiful, beautiful full color icons. And I forgot to mention this earlier, at the beginning of each hour, it explains what the hour is and what we're remembering at that hour. And it's good to remind people that the Psalms, and each hour has 12 Psalms to it, correlate specifically to the commemoration of the hour in Christ's life. So let's go back to the beginning, because much like New Rome, man, really did a nice job with the inside cover paper. Perfectly cut and glued. It's just a great use of like this deep ochre sort of red. Here's our psalm chart, and yes, printed in Canada. So this is this year. It only came out like maybe a month or so ago. Wonderful printing. So we have a psalm chart and where each psalm is in the hours. So 76 psalms are recited 134 total times. May God grant us the gift to memorize. So there it is. It's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And then we have the chart for memorize your psalms in 1 year. Prime to veil. I have hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. Psalm 119, verse 11. And so, yeah, week 1, it's Psalms 1 and 2. Week 2, 3, and 4, so on and so forth. And then you have these review weeks. Like on week 12, you would review what you've... And it's if you're dedicated to, the Psalms, go for it. And then we have this great introduction that gives us the history of the Agpeya, which I kind of went over a little bit. And so table of contents, very simple, because the Agpeya is literally just an orologion. And so you have the canonical hours, so first hour being, 3 a.m., 6 a.m., and then 9 a.m., noon, 3 p.m., the 11th hour would be like 5, 12th hour would be like somewhere around dinner time, the veil, midnight, and then the 3 watches of the night for like the overnight, and then personal prayers and absolution of the priests. So, ow, why do things always have to fall? So these are the introductory prayers that you recite before reading every hour, okay, with Psalm 50, and then you get right into the hours. And every hour you've got an icon, And there's your Psalms, and they're numbered throughout. And this is according to the Septuagint, of course. So this is a 13th Psalm. It's 24. I want to get to the end of this particular hour, because after the Psalms you have Gospel reading. You have some litanies. In the first hour you have the Gloria, which is sagging, and a whole bunch of extra stuff. Hail Holy Virgin. Conclusion for every hour. This is that page 40 prayer that I was telling you about. There's a prayer page at the end of every hour. So if you need to write down names or specific petitions or whatever, it's there for you. It's not just like, oh, well, we got a few extra pages in the page numbering. No, this was planned this way, and I kind of love that. So there we go again at the 9th hour. I love that the veil is in here, which is like the really late night thing. But okay, so here we go. The absolution of priests is actually priestly prayers that are just as fine for us to read. That's why they're in there. Each hour there are prayers for absolution. Let's go back here for a second just to give you an idea. We're asking for forgiveness every hour of the day. See there, it says page 31. It's actually page 40. But yeah, so let's go back here. The confession prayers, the prayers before communion as well, are just slightly different from the ones we are used to, but they come from the same tradition early on. And so it's just a slightly different translation, because, you know, after about 1,500 years, things tend to change a little bit. And then when it comes to personal prayers, we have prayers for guidance, for God's accompaniment, before meals, the usual stuff. And it's not, you know, it's not anything heavy. It's not like the St. Ticons where you have like all sorts of miscellaneous prayers, stuff like that. It's just simple. It focuses on the Psalms as an orologian should. And that's all there is to it. So if you got 20 bucks laying around, or 13 bucks if you don't want the personalization, and you just want something that focuses on psalmody, just a different way to read the Psalms through the day, do consider this, because it is, I'm very happy with it. I love the Psalms, as you know, and so any chance I get to switch up my routine and read Psalms differently, I'm all for it. And plus, it's like, it's nice to have that connection to like the old desert fathers, like St. Anthony and you know, St. Athanasius the Great, and all those early ascetics. This is how they were doing it. So why not kind of have a connection with that? Okay, that's it. You're done. Class is dismissed. To all the ortho bros that are pissed off that I'm doing an Agpeya, kick rocks. God forgives and I forgive. It's going to be okay, I promise. And on behalf of Patches, the one-eyed murder cat, and myself, thank you again. Check the links below. Send me lots of money. Just kidding. Christ is risen. Indeed, he is risen. Please don't forget to go to church, say your prayers, and remember God. God bless.